to you. This is the day that the Lord has made. Come on and rejoice and be glad in it. The time has changed. Yes, in real life, it has changed where I'm located at, and it just has changed even in my personal life. I want you to know God loves you. I want you to know right where you're at, whatever that you may be doing. Get satisfied because God is changing some things in your life because it's time. I want to share this particular, message with someone this morning. Good morning, beautiful soul. Thank you for coming in. I want to share this message with someone. You never know how God will get your attention and who you may need to share your testimony with. Yesterday, I had an opportunity as I got up and as I began to go to the store and get some things that I needed for my home. And in the midst of being on a particular aisle, it was the book aisle in the store. Just as I began to actually put the book up from what I had in my hand, contemplating, reading over, and then I said, oh, possibly I'll come back if I need it after I check the other things that I have at home of books. So immediately I began to leave. But as I was leaving, it wasn't within seemed like seconds. A young lady asked me, and we began to talk. And she began to talk about, life and things. But immediately she jumped on the subject about forgiveness. And that's when my spirit was alerted. For those that don't know, this is the space to whereby I do believe in the power of prayer, and I believe that God do miracles and healing. But on the subject and what she was saying, she was having a hard time to release some things that had personally happened to her. And I began to just listen with the ear that I needed to have, asking God to give me the spirit of discernment and giving me words of what I needed to say at that time and at that moment. A situation had happened in her life, and it had affected her as well as someone that was close to her, such as her particular son. That's what she stated to me. It affected her so much that it rolled over into her family. And the thing about it and everything, like she said, she basically, if I can say it correctly, believed in everything in her child. Meaning that if someone did anything, bothered them, hurt them, she took it to heart. In other words, it was nothing wrong with what she said, but what she didn't realize is that what her son had to go through, that was his journey. Of course, he's a grown adult who she was talking to, but he was in the ministry. And the things that some individuals may go through before even climbing that ladder. And in climbing the ladder of ministry, and as I was listening to her, it sounded like it was things that God had allowed her son to do because it was his choice. See, when you ask God for something, God will bring it to you. And God did just that. And I told her, just because we may go through trials and temptations and challenges and things that may come and, in our life as a life experience, it does not mean that God is not with us and God don't love us. But we have to forgive and we have to move on. But in the midst of the story, and she began to tell me that her son was spoken over when he was a child and that he would begin to touch nations in ministry. It gave me more information that her son was dripping with the oil of God holiness. So therefore, whatever he was going through, okay, it was all because he didn't need to go back through that situation once he hit the battlefield. What do I mean about the battlefield of those mission fields? Some things, God will take away from us so that we can be the better version when we are in this particular earthly realm, and especially if prophecy has been spoken over lives, including your life. So, in the midst, when she was talking to me, she asked me just only my opinion. What did I think? First of all, I told her, in order to remain that chosen and that child of God, and even as being a parent, you have to understand that the forgiveness plays a role in you just as well as your son. Your son has begun to be healed and move on from many things of deliverance that the son dealt with, okay? And these things that the son dealt with, like I told her, it had needed to happen because if it didn't happen in the midst of his ministry, things would have came to tempt him. But now that God have allowed him to experience these things, such as temptations, okay, some of the things that, men go through, okay, when they are tempted, it was a multiple of things. But the son has already did his inner work, but now mother hadn't did her inner work. The inner work that she needed was the power to forgive. And in forgiving and things, I told her, if you are called to pray, I said, because that's a call. It's called intercessory prayer war. She was familiar with the term that I was speaking about because she grew up in the church. But because of certain things that she already knew, it was almost like a reminder for her to understand. You cannot move forward unless you forgive. Your son has already, begin to understand the lesson. That's why he's praying daily. The same things now that your son is doing and moving forward, even if he's limping with the bruises and wounds and things. Mother, you got to forgive. She said, but it's so hard and it's so difficult because it's personal. I said, a lot of things personal have came into my life. I said, and the personal effects, that's what wounds us the most because it's personal. She said, well, how do you release and let go? I say daily. I say you're going to have to continue to tend to that particular wound, okay, that came to injure you. You're going to have to read that book of Ephesians 6, okay, and all the way through the end about putting on the whole armor of God, which she was aware of. But I say that armor that you're putting on, I want you to begin to look at the spirit that is in the hurt and the pain that you say you wounded for. And look at it that, it's just that it's a spirit. Use your eyes of discernment. Don't look at the flesh, but look at the spirit. And as you look at the spirit, now you're able now to see the things that is trying now to hold you back from your prayers. I say, don't you know your prayers have power? How you think and how you move in this earthly realm. I say, even by you talking to me right now, what good is it doing to hold on to the things that you can do nothing about? Who's to say that God didn't give you this experience so that it can show up in your sanctified life because you say that you save and you love the Lord, okay? Who's to say that God didn't want to pull those covers from off of you so that you can identify that it's more work to do with your forgiveness? I say, but here's the thing. Forgiveness does not mean you need to sit at the table and break bread with individuals if you're not completely there at all. I'm not advising that. But I say, but you asked me my opinion, so I said, these are the things what God have taught me to do. Learn how to stay prayed up. And when you're staying praying up, it doesn't mean that you're perfect, but it means that God is still working some things out in all of us, including me. I say my journey is and have been about spiritual warfare. And those things are heavy as a mountain to even walk in. I said, when you walking in that particular level, possibly God got a mantle over your life, friends. Possibly some things have happened to you and you weren't able to shake it. But to God be the glory and your strength. God know how to teach you, and God know how to speak to you. I told her to begin to write in a journal and write everything down that possibly have made her mad and angry. She said, you mean to tell me I can put those things down? Because normally I put down the good things, and the things that is basically positive. I said, well, why would you miss out with having your relationship with God? You telling God about the good things, put down those things that you can't release. She said, should I write a letter? I said, are you ready to write a letter and are you sincere? She said, well, no, I'm not. I said, well, how can you write the letter when it really have no value? I said, the writing of your journal is to release the things from out of you so that you can see the deliverance, date and time it, so that you can go back to it. She said, well, how will I know that I have forgiven? I said, you will feel it. I said, because it's the love of God that surpasses all our understanding. It will have no place in your life, period. What do this message may mean to me today is that it's an opportunity always to forgive, to release, and to let go, and to be used by God. Use your testimony, use your story to help somebody. Share it because you never know how people may need a breakthrough. Before the process of leaving, she told me, I thank you so much. How God used you in this store to pour into me. There was many other words that was exchanged, but I'm giving a short version. But she told me, continue to do what you do. I just got done working out. I probably don't look like what I need to look like. She said, ma'am, you're beautiful in spirit and you're beautiful on the outside. She said, it's the light. And she said, because you shared those words and because what I already know to do, I needed to hear it from somebody that I was not even expecting to meet today. Today, you may be meeting somebody that need you and need some words that will keep them strengthened. Forgiveness is powerful. Don't let, and this is what I told her. You're passing it unforgiveness from generation to generation unto your bloodline. You may not think that you are, but that's what is happening in everything. Even if you're not speaking it, it's in your soul, it's in your energy and your vibration. I leave you with peace, light, and love. Oh God, thank you. Bless everybody. Give them wisdom. Give them discernment. Most of all, give them peace. Let's have a good day because we can. By the way, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel. I will continue to come and talk about the power of prayer and how good God is. Oh God, I thank you. Good morning, everybody. Everybody, everybody. Okay, seek God for yourself. Have a special place, okay, to where about your relationship is on point and on in right alignment. Thank you. I appreciate you. Once again, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you, okay? Thank you.